that you watch over and protect them, watch over and protect their families also. Ask that you watch over the leaders of our state and our country, as these are volatile times here. Please be with us and guide us so that decisions we make and the judgments that we move forward are the best for everyone. Be with the staff, be with those in the audience, members of this council. Guide us tonight, Father. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next is petitions, comments. There's time on the agenda for anyone to address the council on an issue that is not on the agenda tonight. If you wish to address the council, come to the podium, state your name and address. All staff, I think. Adoption of the agenda.
I move adoption of the agenda as is presented in our packet.
Could I request that we add a closed session on potential litigation?
But I got to change.
Unless there are any other amendments, then I'll move adoption with the addition that Councilmember Kennedy has suggested for a closed session.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Presentations. The Powell, appreciate it. I'm going to ask the town manager to step down, and he'll be presented a plaque or something with Zudema and McKeever.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thank you for just a couple of minutes of your time tonight. I am here on behalf of our Police Athletic Activities League and have with me Kathy Taylor, who is our program manager and has been with us formally as an employee for 4.5 years now. It's hard to believe we're that far along. And then, of course, Lieutenant Mike McKeever, who is our program director, or the director, basically, of what goes on with PALE. So what we want to do tonight is take just a minute to present actually a plaque of appreciation to you on behalf of PALE. So we are actually starting our 10th year of programming. And that seems a little hard to believe, but we started back in the fall of 2010 at East Garner Magnet Middle School with a pretty basic after-school program that met once a week, and we have now grown to having programs in 7 elementary schools, both middle schools. We're involved with a cadet program through the Public Safety Academy at Garner Magnet High School, and we're also sponsoring students in a Pride boxing program that takes place right next door at Forest Hill Shopping Center. So we have come a long ways, and that certainly has at least in part been to support that you have lent to us, primarily financially, but certainly philosophically as well. And so I want to let Mike and Kathy just offer a quick comment and then present this plaque of appreciation to Mr. Dickerson to receive it on your behalf for the town.
Like the chief said, I just want to thank each and every one of you for your support. Over the years, we have grown tremendously, and I don't see us slowing down. So thank you so much. And this is a small token of our appreciation, but nonetheless, it is our gesture towards showing you that we do appreciate your support.
I love what I do.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the town council, I accept this token of appreciation, and we thank you for everything you do for the community and nurturing the next generation of youth and keeping them occupied and busy. So we appreciate that.
I'll give him a round of applause.
Yes, sir.
Next is consent. Councilmember want to pull anything off of that? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No public hearings. New and old business. Chris Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members.
Good evening.
Chris Johnson from the Engineering Department. I'm here to present to you an item tonight for the New Rand Road and East Garner Road Sidewalks project. As you know, this project's been in the books for quite some time. We've finally gotten to the end of our design phase and right-of-way phase and are looking forward to construction. So quick agenda here for you tonight. Go through a project summary, talk to you a little bit about the bid opening, the project funding, staff's recommendation, and then the upcoming project schedule. So just for people looking from home, and a reminder to council members, this has got two separate projects that have been combined into the bid. The New Rand Road portion starts just south of US 70. It'll include widening with curb and gutter along both the east and west sides from just south of 70 up to the Garner Road intersection. There'll be a 5-foot sidewalk that will be installed along the west side of New Rand Road. We'll be doing some signal revisions at US 70 to accommodate some of the additional turn lanes and pedestrian improvements that are going to be done for better walkability across that busy intersection, including a pedestrian refuge and push buttons so that if anybody gets stranded in the middle, they have a way to push the button again and get a walking signal to get across. There's also the North Carolina Railroad crossing just before Garner Road. That will include some pedestrian improvements. The second portion of the project is along Garner Road, starting at New Rand Road and heading west to the Garner Senior Center. This will include widening along the north side of Garner Road with curb and gutter, and again, a 5-foot sidewalk. So this will pretty much provide a continuous path for the entire length of the corridor on both streets. So getting to the bid opening, we had our bid opening on September 4th, had 3 bids that came in. We actually did this project with a base bid and an alternate bid. This was related to some retaining walls that we have along the west side of New Rand Road. To look at a couple different material types. We have a couple different wall types out there on some existing homes. So the base bid engineer's estimate was about $17,000 lower than the alternate. Out of the 3 bids we got, Moffett Pipe Company was the apparent low bidder with their bids of $2,679,617 for the base bid, and then $2,703,697 for the alternate bid. Both bids were a little higher, about 8 to 8.3% higher than the engineer's estimate. Moffett Pipe's subcontractor participation was 2.4%. I would also add that Moffett themselves is also an MWBE firm as well. So the project funding, the bulk of this project is to be funded through the 2013 Street and Sidewalk bond funds, and a budget amendment would be brought forward to you for the contract, including an 8% contingency. We added a little bit more than what we've done on some of our past projects just because of some of the more complexities of this project compared to some of the sidewalk projects we've recently brought to you. So the staff's recommendation is to award the project to Moffett Pipe Company, authorize the town manager to execute the contract in an amount not to exceed $2,703,697, which is for the alternate bid. So moving forward, we would move to execute the contract with Moffett Pipe. They begin to put out the property notifications to all the business owners and homeowners that live along the corridor. We've got a tentative notice to proceed of November, and we've got a 1-year contract time on this project, so it would be late 2020. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilman, have a question?
Yes.
What about?
We see eventually we'll get up to a total budget, and I feel like you probably have run through some numbers already and working on a total budget. But if we add 8% to this and plus the engineering, we're somewhere north of $3 million. This does not include the overhead utilities.
That's correct.
And so when we add that in, we're up to right at least $4 million. How much, before we approve this, can we get a ballpark estimate of what was the original budget and how much we're going to have to come up with in order to, if any, that we're going to have, because we're looking at probably a little over $4 million.
Right. Might defer to John on this one since I don't have the original budget
I'm going to see
information.
if I can get to that number right now, Mr. Kennedy, for you.
I was thinking it was 2.1 to 2.
I'm sorry?
I was thinking the original number was in the range of 2.1 to 2.3.
Well, and keep in mind, the scope was expanded for the project beyond the original numbers. Depending on which original you're talking about, we added the Garner Road portion of this beyond the original portion.
Well, maybe a different
scope.
question is how many, what's the amount of the bond funds that are available for this?
And I'm trying to access that number for you right now.
Well, I tell you what, okay, if you can find it, I would really, I'm not sure how good a business it is if we're $1.5 million short, literally, because I think we could be on that order. I'd hate for us to approve the contract not knowing, without knowing how much we got to come up with, because our reserve after some of the recent action, I suspect our reserve is down to about 2 million above the 30% threshold. Not trying to stop it, I just think we need to go into it with our eyes wide open. We've waited long enough, but jumping water over our heads.
Any other council member? You don't want to table it?
John's
No,
looking up a
we'll
number.
wait for the information.
Yeah, you got to consider awarding the construction. The motion needs.
Is that going to take a while, John, or should we come back to
I'm
it by
trying
the
to
end
get
of
logged
the
in.
meeting?
Sorry, it's not cooperating with me to get in. So the numbers that that we had presented to you at our August bond update did not include the overage, the Duke utilities, the design cost, and the other right-of-way. That number was at 3.8 million with a construction estimate of 2.5. So if we add Chris, can you go back to your numbers? That's going to put us just above 4 million plus the 8% contingency.
Contingency will be about 200 grand, a little over. $215,000.
For about $4.4 million.
Yes, sir.
And I would mention that there would also, for this type of project, we'd probably need some funding for construction administration and materials and testing, just to make sure that we can cover everything as far as concrete and everything else. So that would be something that would be done with the consultant, not the contractor. But that is something that we would have to look forward to.
And so when we gave a bond update to you back in August, we had estimated this project would be at 3.8. Now we know that there's some other costs that are going to be higher than that. So that would bring down the available balance for some of the other street and sidewalk bond projects, should you choose to complete everything else that was on the list. So
We're going to choose and complete everything else on the list. That's going to happen. While we kept saying, don't take money from this, don't take money from that, because we need that extra money. Like, this is the second sidewalk project we're going to bid in the last 2 months. This one and the
Spring Drive.
Spring Drive, Vandor Springs Road. That leaves the Timber Drive project, which we've already committed to, because that's federal money, and that almost doubled in cost. And then that leaves the Vandor Springs from the fire station to Tiffany Woods Road Improvement Project. Now this, Chris, if this is awarded tonight, they really won't start construction until next spring, right?
They may be able to get started with some initial, like, clearing and operations and things of that nature in December.
Getting prepared.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, it would be weather dependent. If depends on how cold and wet the weather is as to how their progress would be in the winter months.
Once they really start construction, how long is the estimated time to complete the project?
It's 1 year
1
from the
year.
notice to proceed.
1 year from, so you awarded notice to proceed here shortly, it's 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Spring Drive, Vandor Springs project was how long? I know it wasn't like, that one was not that long.
I don't remember for sure, but I think it was more closer to the 6 months. It was much smaller.
All right, thank you.
So just so I'm hearing the figures right, did I hear 3.8 million was the amount either available or estimated from the bond funds, and then 4.4 is the amount we're talking about here? So we're talking about a $500,000 difference, am I
Right,
right?
so when we gave you the bond update in August, we had estimated 3.8 million for this project, and now we'll be at 4.4.
But that was not all bond funds, that was from some other sources, namely, one of them was a big number, was from the recent bond sale. The, what do you call that number they're paying us to?
That was if we look at the premium, if we factor in the premium that was there.
Well, let me just reverse it. Should we be concerned about awarding this without having, are we safe to say that 4.5 is I think we got it up to 4.4. Chris, you mentioned some testing and
Yeah.
whatever, and I would agree, 8% is needed, because this is a tedious location and just fraught with opportunities for unknowns.
Right.
It's an older area. And if it doesn't bother anybody else, that whereas it was not all bond funds in that 3.8, it was from all available sources, and now we could need another 600,000 or 700,000. Where are we going to get it from? And I think when you let a contract, when you award it, you need to be pretty confident on where you're going to get the money.
So,
But that's only one voice in the wilderness.
so until we award future projects that were going to be bond funded, we are technically still have more than this amount in bond funds. So I think I understand your point, Mr. Kennedy, but you know, the finance director can sign off on awarding this project because there are plenty of funds in the bond funds right now to award the project. Where we would get down to the meat of your conversation is the latter projects that we award. At some point, we will actually no longer be using just bond funds, but would have to decide to be able to finish whatever the last projects are on the list. At that point, we'd have to decide where those other funds would come from. So I know theoretically, we're talking about deciding that now, but you know, from a payment standpoint, we have the bond funds available for this project, and we're eating those down.
Okay, you've answered my questions. I've raised a concern, and when you or raised a question, you've given me the answer.
Right now, if we approve this recommendation, the recommendation stipulates an amount of $2,703,697. Is that right, Chris?
Correct.
So somebody will have to come back, obviously, if we need additional funding through your department or Mr. Beck's department. Is that, am I anticipating correctly there?
I believe the way it would handle is that the budget amendment would include the contingency, so as
Okay.
long as we're able to keep it within that contingency of 8%, then we would not need to come back, but if it went over that amount, then yes.
Okay.
But we're going to have a budget ordinance on this pretty soon, aren't we, David? Doesn't every project, don't we adopt a budget and
Yes.
or have a budget ordinance? So that's coming
Yeah, the
back to
budget
us.
amendment
The ordinance is part of the budget amendment
Somewhere we're
process.
gonna see a
Yes.
total list of what this project costs with construction, engineering, contingency, materials testing.
That's
whatever.
not typically in the budget amendment, but if you'd like us to break that out, we can certainly add it to it.
Don't do anything you hadn't been doing.
We're happy to do that, just, but what would happen, if you award the contract tonight, the plan was a budget amendment would be on your consent agenda at the next meeting that would actually authorize the money to be budgeted towards this project.
Placed in a project fund for this.
Right. But we can add any amount of detail. We'd be glad to break that detail out so that you have it.
And then we can bring a separate item forward for the consultant work that would be required.
That's usually not going to be a huge number. I mean, for testing, it's.
Not compared to that, but it'd be 1 year's worth of engineering time, and then the materials testing is probably, I'd say on a project like this, $40,000-$50,000. Construction admin, I have to get the quotes back and review them.
Okay, y'all ready to vote on it?
Your motion on the floor.
Not yet, but I was
Yeah.
prepared to make one. I mean, it's been bid. Moffitt's is the accepted bid. Something been on the plan for some time, has it not?
Yeah.
I'm gonna move, we go ahead with it and award New Rand Road, Garner Road Sidewalks Project to Moffett Pipe and authorize town manager to execute the construction contract for $2,703,697, which is an alternate bid.
Second.
Motion made and second. Further discussion. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Who's handling that nightclub?
School Creek.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I am presenting the next item on behalf of Mr. Triesenberg tonight. This is an item that has been before you before. It is to extend a UDO text amendment to extend the bar and nightclub tavern in the central business district that was added last year. It was added with a parameter of using businesses that fronted Main Street as the delineation point. We have had interest in having that same use along Rand Mill Road, which is a logical intersection there with Main Street to continue our downtown efforts. This came before you, and you had referred it to the Planning Commission on September 3rd. They heard this matter last night and gave a unanimous approval for the text amendment. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have about this, and also Ms. Howe, our Downtown Development Manager, is here if there's any questions you have for her.
All right, very good. Get ready for action, John.
Yes, sir.
Let's have a motion. Action requested, consider approval and adoption of the ordinance, amending the UDO. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve and adopt ordinance 2019-3999, amending the text of the UDO.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Committee reports. Manager reports.
Mr. Mayor, Town Council, you have Garner info, a finance report, and a building permit report in your agenda packet. And then in addition to that, I just want to announce a few events that are coming up. Well, one thing before the events is WRAL has started our campaign, our marketing campaign, and have started putting stories about Garner. You may have seen several of them. I think there's maybe 6 of them on there right now, and then eventually one of those will be highlighted on a main page. I think starting tomorrow, that'll kick off, and then they'll alternate the stories. So that's a good thing, some positive positive stories about the town of Garner. There's a public meeting tomorrow also from 6 to 7:30 in the training room pertaining to the roundabout at White Oak, Ackerman, and Hebron Church. So need any interested parties to attend that. There'll be a barbershop session tomorrow, also rap session at Diamond Cuts Barbershop. I think it starts at 6:30. Okay, 6:30. And that'll be a discussion between police and the community, predominantly African-American community and police community relations. We've had one and it was very successful, so we'll probably continue to have these for a little while.
What's the address or location of that?
It's in Forest Hills on Fifth Avenue. I don't know the actual little address, but it's,
Around the corner here?
Right down from the bitter lady, about 3 spots.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
across from food lines, that area.
Okay.
And DGA, Downtown Garner Association, will be hosting a pop-up market on September 29th from 12 to 4. And then Fireman's Day is October 5th from 11 to 6 on Main Street. And that's all I had as far as any events. Anything else we need to add? So that's it.
Mr. Attorney,
Don't have anything to add.
council reports. Elmo.
Well, my hat goes off to the Public Works and the Parks and Rec for getting out to the Jackie John's Park and clearing the lighting out there. The growth had covered up the lighting, and we noticed that we're doing the ceremony for Jackie John's, and that has been cleared. Thank you to Parks and Rec and to Public Works.
I have a question. Does anyone know who is building the house on, or who the owner is of the property at the corner of West Garner Road and Center Street? Do you have any idea?
There's a
who-
builder who is building a home on that lot, and he is also building one on Center Street. If you turn down
Already
Center,
done.
the first, I think the first lot that faces Center is the same builder, but it's a builder who's bought both of those lots and is building a product that the Downtown Development Group is very happy about and
It's very
excited
nice.
about adding infill to that neighborhood.
So is this builder also doing other properties in Garner at this point, or do we know?
I met with the developer probably 2 or 3 months ago now. I think these are the only 2 that he's doing so far. He sounded fairly new to the Garner market, but was excited to get in there. The construction, it's Tobin Construction Company, and he actually gave me a copy of the, I think the elevation and the floor plan, so let me know if you'd be interested. I can share it with you at the DGA board meeting next week.
I'm excited to see it. I'm happy to, and hope they continue to build in Garner.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, I would echo and agree with Councilmember Vance's observations about the event where the park was renamed in the honor of the late Jackie Johns, fellow council member. I thought the event was well done and was well attended, and lots of good food and fellowship, I guess. So I think Jackie would have been proud and honored with that. And the other thing I would mention is to thank the town manager for the information he submitted just today, or at least I received it today, having to do with the budget information, sort of a budget overview, and also the summary of the GO referendum bond issuances. I think I'm understanding correctly, we have now completed sale of all the bonds as related to the 2013.
Correct.
Yeah,
Bond referendum, and we
Yeah,
had
bond
actually had the
referendum.
final closing today, so.
right, okay. So thank you, sir, for that information. That's all I have for now.
Right.
Nothing right now, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Several items. There's a property owner that lives at the end of Thompson Road, the dead end, that's been trying to sell their property for a couple of years. And the most recent information, I think they met with the staff last couple of months, and something kind of new to the scene came up is that, and I'd love for staff to go back and look at this and give us some background on it. It says that the total number of people that building separate dwelling units that would be allowed on Thompson Road is 75, and that therefore that puts some restrictions and limitations on the building on that particular lot. There's two other pieces of property for which been on and off the market. One is on now, the other one is off on either side of Thompson Road. If we could get some background information on that, and whether it's a state law or it's a code or a Garner code or Garner UDO, and what flexibility we might have. We when we had the option of having a second outlet to Thompson Road, I don't know that we had any idea that we'd be restricted to, and what the impact would be on people building in there. But so if you could educate us, that would be helpful. One other thing, Mari, while you are here, have you be the most likely one that would have had any contact from the economic development, from the consulting firm out of Chapel Hill that was going to help us with the pad? Have you had any contact from them? Do you know if they've started work yet? Yeah, and I know they wouldn't be doing any external work, but you got any update from them?
Yes, they're currently doing their community scan. So a lot of that is the background work of just seeing kind of what articles are out there about Garner in general, learning about the community, reviewing old plans, so the historic downtown Garner plan, the North Garner plan. We are having biweekly check-in calls with them. So usually, at least I, at very minimum, often John and Joe Stallings will also be a part of those. And we are anticipating that the Downtown Garner Association will also begin having regular contact with them through the board meetings and or the development committee. So currently they're doing that. We anticipate that they're going to come do a community walkthrough with us sometime in October. But for right now, they're mostly doing the background research, and we'll start working on the market studying probably in October, November.
Good. I won't be around to see that, but I'm glad that they're moving on it, because construction has held us up, and I thought we would have, that would be an automatic thing, and now they've got 9 months to get this done, and I have a hope they will move along briskly, at a brisk pace. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Mari. Looking ahead to probably, we've had a couple of different conversations, or 2 or 3 over the past year, about having a one-day retreat in November. Is that still planned? And if you all would, as soon as we can get some potential dates and put out there, so we can arrive at some times, or arrive at a date that's convenient for everyone, or has that already been set?
We're looking at having an extended session on the regular work session date on November. And I think that's the 29th, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see.
November 29th.
Let me check my calendar just to make sure I'm giving you the
The 26th, I believe.
26th. Okay.
That we would just start earlier in the afternoon
Yeah,
on the same
26th.
day and lead into the regular work session.
When is Thanksgiving? Is it that week or the week before?
That week, the
That
28th.
week.
Okay. That's all for now.
Sam Bridges, you have anything?
I did have one other thing that I wanted to bring up. I know there was a question about rec center update, so I just wanted to give you some details about that, Mr. Mayor, if I could. The updated schedule for overall completion right now is November 19th, and that a lot of that's going to be dependent on how soon they can get some of the site work and road work done, but some of that work is underway. On the road work, contractor began work on the GPAC resurfacing this week and prepping that for resurfacing. And then the grading contractor that's doing some of the site work began some of the road work, site work, and material staging last week for Montague Street and also for Purvis Street. Hopefully they'll begin Montague and they'll begin on Montague and work toward US 70 is the plan for that. Inside the building, the builder's working on some punch list items, and we're starting an official punch list for them to process pretty soon. Paint crew is working inside to finish the interior painting, and the heavy rains we had recently in the hurricane revealed some roof and drainage issues that are being addressed right now. And then also the elevator inspection with Department of Labor is scheduled for later this week.
Heavy was the rain.
Well,
Was that a natural event? Almost a natural event? Inch and a half at the most?
But it hadn't showed up before that, but there's a couple of roof leaks that they're working on. They're smaller leaks, but nevertheless, they're roof leaks. And then a drainage issue around at the front of the building that we're probably going to need to modify the landscaping and mulch bed there to help alleviate that.
Rodney, over the weekend, when I rode by, I noticed that I believe it was the last 2 or 3 letters of the word Garner over the rec center were collapsed and laying down. Has that been attended to?
That was a temporary sign. That was just put up there by the sign contractor just so we know what it looked like. But they're going to install that permanently at some point when they install the monument sign. But that was just temporary so we could get a feel for what that looked like. Because of the way the roof was constructed, we were not able to install the sign that we originally thought we would put up there because we would have had to penetrate the roof to get wiring and all that kind of stuff in there. So that was just temporary. So.
Can it possibly be straightened up until the permanent sign is put up? Because it looks
they've
neglected.
they've taken it down completely.
Okay, all right.
They've taken it down completely. So.
Mr. Manager, assuming that the November 19, I believe you said, date holds in terms of completion date, do you care to project when it's a reasonable time that might become a functional building in terms of folks moving in, the Parks and Rec, and that being a building that's usable?
I don't have an actual date, but I know there's going to be furniture load in and equipment load in and some of those things, so that could take,
Sure.
few weeks.
Let's get closer to the date. How many different dates have we had left to us the last year and a half? I emphasized the last year and a half. I don't believe I would hold on to November 19th very strong.
Well, I mean, I was supposing that was
Right.
not a move-in date, but a date.
Right, that would be, I guess, a substantial completion date for the contractor. And then we would need time to upfit the building for use. Matt, you have any idea what type of time period for us to load in?
No, we haven't really discussed that in detail. It would be the, getting the furniture set up in the other part of the building, and then we would have staff move in, and it would probably take a good bit longer to phase in the full programming that would happen there because, we're not going to switch a league midway through, go from one location to another. So it would, in terms of when it's fully functional as intended, it will get phased in probably over months because of those league schedules and that kind of thing.
easily after the end of the year, perhaps into the new year.
Yeah, if it were done in November, I think it would, by the time all those transitions take place, it would most certainly be in the next calendar year before it was, fully, I won't say fully programmed, because I'm sure there will be opportunities to do even more programming in the future, but till we transition all of our existing programming into the building, it would take a number of months and would certainly put it into the next calendar year.
Especially with the holidays.
Yeah.
Toward the end of the year.
People ask us when they can use the walking track. What is a reasonable ballpark date for that?
Depends on when the
Don't even
yeah.
come up
I
with
wouldn't even
one.
answer the question. I wouldn't even answer the question. You know, there's in the lobby of the auditorium, there's a sign that says opening summer 2018. You know, that thing's been there for quite a while by the water fountain. Every time I go to deliver Meals on Wheels, I walk by it and just laugh. So just remember that it says opening summer of 2018 in one of our buildings.
Okay, we need a motion to go to closed session.
Great news is a little bit better than what we've been getting.
Yes and no.
but, So.
That's going to give us the statute.
Yeah, Mayor Williams, I would advise the closed session be held under NCGS 143-318.11A3 to discuss potential litigation under the attorney-client privilege.
Second.
All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
So, Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, close it out.